All right. This is probably going to be one of the few last chapters I'd like to touch upon. Tomorrow will be a brief introduction of what chapter 7 is, but you won't be tested on it. Chapter 7 and chapter 12. I do want to make sure that I at least expose you to macros. It is a useful tool, but it's not something that you would really have to know unless for any instances. But pivot tables is definitely very important, okay? So as you can see, the book has given us many examples, and and the key reason why we use pivot tables is because you're going to get tables like this that go on and on and on and on. Okay, you see that? It goes down to the thousands. Okay, I'm going to do my shortcut Control Home to bring me back up to the top. Okay, so yes, as you can see, there was thousands and thousands of data entered into this entire worksheet. Now, what pivot tables does is it allows you to take this huge data set and allows you to create small tables based on small key features that are relevant to what you want to display. So taking all this information, organizing it in a way where you only see a small aspect of the table. Now, what's the difference between that and filters? Well, filters, it kind of shortens up the material for you, but in this case, instead of having so many options to choose from, or so many columns and so many rows, what pivot tables does is it narrows down a key specific piece of information. Okay, so the first one they want you to do is click anywhere on the table, and what's going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and go my insert, and then I have tables, and that's going to give me two options. Do I want to do a pivot table, or do I want to do a recommended table? Now, for those who've never used pivot tables before and don't have a clue what you can do with them, I would suggest you to do the recommended pivot tables. And what you could do with recommended pivot tables is it will give you some examples on how you can structure your tables. So again, the recommended pivot tables allows you to choose only up to 2 categories of information that you would like to see. Okay, and when we move into the editing process, or the valuation process, that's where we get to see that you could do actually more than 2. You could have 3. You can have as much as 4, but of course, you don't want to have as many columns as is in the original table because it would defeat the purpose of using a pivot table. So the pivot table basically gives you a small range of cells, and for you to just pick the information right then and there. Okay, and most often cases, yes. So here in my original table, if you look carefully, I have a center, right? My packages center. Okay, I have the date, I have the year it happened, I have the month it happened, I have the week it happened, the day that it happened, and the weekday, and the volume. Okay, so I have pretty much a lot of information. So this is right here could be more like a tracking record, right? You're gonna make sure that you journalize or keep track of every package that has gone through, volume of package, which location, XYZ. So given with those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns and titles, you're going to notice that it's going to populate things that are potential to maybe what you want to see. For example, you have sum of volumes by centers. You have sum of volumes by weekday. Okay. You also have sum of volumes by month. Okay. So you have quite a few recommendations as far as building your first pivot table. In this case, I think they wanted me to build it by weekday. And every time I create a pivot table, what's going to happen is it's going to create a brand new sheet for you. Okay. Now, when you actually start building your actual pivot table, it's going to ask you, well, do you want it in the same workbook or do you want it in a different worksheet? And in most cases, definitely you want to just look at the material and just be like, you know, have a quick look at it, and you just only want that piece of information. So in this one here, I have the total volume per each for each month. So here my table has been shrunken up, and it has given me the months here, and it gives me the total in each column. So that's cool about what QuickBooks. So that's what's cool about Excel is it allows you to manipulate the information and arrange it any way that you like. Okay. So, and also looking at this table, what you can do is what pivot tables can do is you can also rearrange the table how you want to look at it. If I want my centers to be displayed across on the horizontal axis, I can do that. So that's really cool when you're dealing with pivot tables, is that you can manipulate, you can change, you can rearrange, you can have sums, averages. You can do a lot when you're dealing with pivot tables. So again, this was just an example. Okay, it summed up all my all the total volumes of packages between the designated month. Okay. All right. And yes, you'd be able to filter them as well. Okay, so we'll talk about that when we move into the filtering section. Okay, so here I'm able to display a segment of my information in another table. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new pivot table. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to select any cell that's in my table. It doesn't matter what it is, at least as long as you select one. And I'm going to go ahead and create a pivot table. Okay, now as you can see, what's going to ask you is, well, first off, what is the range of cells that are the table that you are looking at? In this case, this one is already pre-named as the daily volume table. Okay, so I want to create a pivot table out of this information right here. And it's going to ask me a few questions, and I definitely want to have it in a new worksheet. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now what happens is you're going to get this little window here, and how you toggle or create your pivot table is going to be on the right side, which is called the pivot table panel or pane. Okay, as you can see here, it's going to give you options to how you want to set up your pivot table, right? So this is where it gives you options here. Would you like to have filters in them? Do you want to set it as a column? You want to set it as a row? Or do you want to set it as a value? Okay, and in this case, so here we get to choose how we want to set up our table. Okay, I think the first one was center. I want my centers to be across the row. So I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it. Now, as you can see, it's giving me the cannot do that sign until you actually can drop it into its designated location. So in this case, I want it to set it in rows. Okay. And I want my year to be in my columns. So as I place these things down, what you notice is that my table is being created right now. Okay. So as I can see, I have my rows and my tables are being created as of right now. And let's see what I want. I think I want volume to be under values. So once I do that, as you can see, it populates and it fills in all the values for me. And it's by year, okay? So 2012, 2013, and 2000 total, right? So that is what's cool about that. Now let's say I want it to display my weekdays, okay, in the columns. And boom. Now it's extended my whole entire graph to like this, okay? So I have it from Monday, from 2012, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, okay? So again, this is based on how many titles you have in your original one. But again, the more titles that you insert into your table, the less effective a pivot table does, because you're trying to shrink the information, not create more. And let's say I want to place the year in my rows. So here I've done it like this. So I have the year in the row, and I have the center in my columns and rows, and then across in my x-axis I have each day of the week on here. Okay, so that's how you create a pivot table. All right. And if you don't want something, that is fine. You'll be able to click here and drag it out so you don't see it anymore. So that's cool about that too. You can go ahead and do that. Now there's only one way you can actually remove a pivot table, and that is if you go all the way up to the top and clear out the data. So let's see, actions, and it's going to be clear. And you want to clear everything. So boom. It's done. It's gone. Okay, and you can start all over there. All right. So that's how you create a pivot table. Okay. So the next section is going to ask you is going to be how you can be able to utilize the pivot table and be able to edit. Let me see. You'd be able to use the pivot table to filter out things that you want to do, as well as also be able to eliminate stuff, or in other words, you could filter it out. So as you can see, this one is actually rearranged a little different. This one is rearranged as the centers and other things like that. Now what you can do is, let's say I don't want to see every single center. I just want to focus on one center. And guess what? You can just focus on one center. So I think this is focusing. So for example, I want to only see Northwest. If I click my center in underneath the to add or to report, right? Under here, you could select your center. So if I don't have it, it's going to be gone. But if I do have it, it's there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and edit undo. Okay. So what's going to happen is, if you look very carefully, you're going to see a little tiny down arrow. If you click that, boom, you can choose to sort the information either alphabetically, or you can sort them and filter them just to only display exactly what you want. And in this case, I'm going to unselect everything and make sure I highlight only northwest locations. Okay? And if I were to click OK, my table does shrink. It does have the center, but it only has one center. It has the northwest center. Okay? So that's cool. That's what you could do when you're dealing with pivot tables. Is you can also, if each category or each type of a thing has a specific date or specific thing that you can separate from, you can also filter it that way as well. Okay, so here we have it like this. All right, other things you can do too is if you don't like that one, okay, so we have centers and we got to see it that way too. You can do the same thing for years, the same thing for months as well. If I want to do only a specific month, I can toggle this and I only want, let's say, the month of June. Okay? And here it shrinks up and gives me 2012's and 2013's month of June. And compare and contrast that way. All right. So again, one thing that you have to do when you're dealing with this is you would have to go to your actions and you would have to clear out your data that way. You can't. So you have to go to analyze, and then you're going to go to actions, and then you're going to go to clear and clear all. So it's going to set everything back to 0 at that point. Okay. And let me see, what else can you do? Oops, sorry about that. Okay. So we just looked at how to filter out our pivot tables to see a specific piece of information. Let me see, what else can you do? Pivot tables, pane. Okay, so we got to see the volume, years, and stuff, and how to see. Okay, so other filters you can use is if when you're generating or when you're creating your pivot tables, right? You have the capability to be able to have this little unique feature called the filter tool right here. So I'm going to recreate another pivot table because I kind of messed up that one. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go ahead and create recommended. And I'm going to do to create the volume by weekday. So here it is right here. I have it set like this, okay? And what I can do is I'd be able to change, I'd be able to use the little filter tool to just to be able to look at my information again as a filter handle. So for example, right, I have weekday in my rows. I can go ahead and dump that into my filter table. Now, as you can see, hold on, let me go to the other, I think it's in the other one. This is focusing, right? Okay, let me see if I'd be able to go back and fix this one. Oh, whoa, what happened? All right, so back here. So what I'm able to actually do is I could actually toggle this based on just the weekday itself. So I can go ahead and go up here and find my weekday, and I'd be able to pop it into my filter tool. My filter little category under my pivot table. And once I do that, I'm going to notice that it pops up right here. Okay? And this can allow me to view all of the days, or I can choose, if I wanted to, I can choose multiple selections. So let's say I don't want all of them. I just want to view only, let me see, Tuesday and Thursday. Let's just go ahead and throw that out there. I click OK, and what you notice is going to populate only months in relations to just only Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay, and it's based on each category here. it's saying, well, on these, from through these people, it's going to be set up like that. Now, again, I can also say, well, I don't want the month in there. I just want to know what it is for Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I can go ahead and get rid of my month. And now if I do that, I can see it's segregated, but based on 2012 total Tuesdays and based on 2013's total Tuesdays. Okay. So, yeah, so that's really cool about that. And I want to make sure that I have that under my rows. Okay. So,
Question.
yes.
I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. You indicated when you were explaining those information were just basically Tuesday, you said,
Uh-huh.
right? And I'm looking at the table. I don't see anything that says Tuesday.
I just
Or
moved
is it
it.
the one that that was on the no, I'm sorry. How do I know, or how do we know that what you are presenting is a Tuesday info?
I just
Um,
I just placed it into my table. If you look at it now, it says
oh, okay,
Tuesday.
okay, okay,
So these are all the Tuesdays out of the year.
okay.
Okay. So this is showing me, well, in 2012, on all the Tuesdays out of the year, that's how much my total sum's going to be. Now, I know that sounds kind of weird that you organize the information like that, but you could also do it specifically as well. Maybe I don't want to focus on just, um, maybe I don't want to just focus on Tuesdays. I want to focus on a specific Tuesday of the year. You'd be able to do that too by using the date option, right? You can go ahead and toggle it here by looking at the date and bringing it here. And then for the year, right? We can filter that year out by only showing 2012 or 2013. So I'm going to go ahead and filter it this way. And let's say I only want to display 2012, right? I only want 2012. I don't want all of it. So I don't want all of it. Don't want all of it. I just want 2012. Okay? And now it's splitting it that way. And now it's giving me every single date out there that's a Tuesday and a Thursday. Okay? Out of those entire years. Okay? So you can display it. Just depends on what kind of information that you're looking for. So here I have the date of the exact Tuesday that happened in the exact month. Wait, hold on. Did I put month in there, not the date?
There is a month. Not for the
Okay.
year.
Because I have month up here. And I have the date displayed. Let me see where the dates are. Okay, maybe they, when they created this, they mixed up the date with the month. Because that's not a date, it's a month. Let me try the months then. No, it just gives me a full month. Okay. Well, anyways, just, it's just a bit depending on how specific you want your information to go as far as. In this case, I don't want to have weekdays. I don't want dates, nor do I want weekdays. I just want the year. Okay. So here I just pull up the year. And I want the sum of the volume, and I want this one to be center, and then years I'm going to pull out. Okay. So there you go. All right, other things that you can toggle in here will be, things like sum. So you're gonna go to analyze, and what you're gonna notice is that you can create other things such as like, maybe some of the tables, some of the volumes, things like that. Subtotals and hold on, subtotals at the bottom. So I'd be able to toggle in for information such as that. Like, let's say I want a sum of a category or things like that. So here I can go over here and be like, well, I want to change my design of my layout. I don't want the sums to be there. I don't want grand totals. I want subtotals. So I'd be able to go here and let's say I want the subtotals to show at the bottom of the table. So if I were to click that, what you notice is that you're going to see the subtotal column just be created right here at the bottom of my table. Whereas before, I didn't have that. I didn't have that feature. Now you can have either both subtotal and then grand total, whatever liking it is for you to, whatever kind of information that you're looking at as far as this. But other than that, that's all the nifty things that you can do here is like maybe you want to do a total, maybe you want to do a subtotal, and then the way that you organize it, you can have the flexibility to either have it at the bottom, at the top of the thing, or if you want to have it just only do the columns only. So that's also cool there too. Now you don't have to always you don't have to always do subtotals. You can do more than that. I believe you can, if you right click, you might be able to do averages instead of so some value as. If you click that, it's going to give you a little drop down menu on what you can do. You can either sorry, not that one. I think it's summarize value by. You can either have it as a sum. You could choose it to have an average, a max, a min. Okay, so again, these are more applying towards statistics, which we wouldn't be really using. So some would be more one that you would use. And yeah, other than that, yeah, then you could change your value as well. Maybe you want to display it as a percentage instead of a number. So that's what's cool about that if you want to change the layout of how it looks. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and dive into the next portion over here, which this is going to be my editing one. So what you can do is when you're in your pivot table, okay, when you click your pivot table, you're going to have a few things that populate above here. You're going to have what's called an analyze, which allows you to, analyze the materials, analyze the things that you have here, and you have design, okay? So this one's for more appearance than anything else. So when I want to do my analyze, right, I can actually change the name of my table if I wanted to. Okay, so as you can see, this says sum of values. I don't, that's just how I want the table to be looked as. I want it to have a summary, but I want to change my table name. And here, I'd be able to do that by dropping down the menu here under pivot table and just changing the name right here in the window. So this one says it's just pivot table number 1. Well, I don't want it to say that. I want that one to say volume summary. Oh, I don't want a space in mine. Volume summary. And I press enter just to validate that. Now, if I were to click anywhere in this table, right, it would tell me that this is volume summary table right here. Okay?
Okay.
So that's just naming the tables, just in case you end up making a bunch of pivot tables and you end up forgetting which one was what. So that's why you're able to name the tables as you go. Again, you can also be able to do that by, properly giving your sheet a name. Okay. So that's a one key feature that you could do here. Again, you don't have to have it as sum of volumes. You can have it as something else. But then again, that's going to be dependent on what you choose, the information that you want to have. So again, you're able to click this information and be able to change the way that it's being summarized, calculated, and whatnot. Okay. Now in this table, I can notice that my numbers are they're just numbers. I want to change that format and make the numbers look a little better. How can I do that? I can just right click anywhere in the table, and I would go ahead and go into number formatting. Okay. So then you're gonna get that little window when you're trying to change the way that the cell looks. So this is something that we've looked before at, and I'm gonna go ahead and change it to numbers, and I want it to have 0 decimals. So I think I went this way. I want to display no decimals, and I want to use the comma style to have it appear in my numbers. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now, if you notice, what happens is all the numbers that are entered into this pivot table convert into the comma style format that I told Excel to change. Okay. And again, you can right click this to either change how you calculate. Okay, you can calculate averages. You can calculate more than that, of course. There are a vast variety of different types of formulas you can choose. But in this case, like I said, most of us would just most likely use sum for accounting. Okay. Let's say I want to change these into percentages instead of have them as a number per se. So what I can do here is remember, so I have the option to choose show value as. And when I do this, I can go ahead and look at my options. Do I want to show it as a percentage number? Do I want to show it as the difference of a formula? Or do I want to just do ahead and percentage of? Now you can go ahead and customize this. So I'm going to go ahead and go to more options, and it's going to allow me to choose what I want to display as far as my information. Okay, so I can go to show value, and I want it to be I want to show value as I want to do it as a percentage. Okay, and I do a row total. Okay, it just depends on what you want to show anything as. And if I were to click OK, boom, all my information turns into percentages. Okay, so instead of numbers, I want them to be shown as percentages. Now you're able to toggle that easily by using the cell format. So again, when I went ahead and went to number format, I can also change the cells as well. But you'd be able to toggle it that way as well to have it designate as a percentage. But this one is a preset one that you can just easily be able to click and apply. Okay, so you don't have to go into details on what exactly percentage you want. But in this case, I want them to be shown as a percentage. Okay. Other things I want to show you is going to be how to change styles and also create custom styles. Let me see. Let me go back to my page 1 to see and make sure I got everything. All right. So we've already looked at changing how to change from subtotals to grand totals, right? We saw how you can toggle that. Okay. And then we saw how filters work, right? We know filters from learning from filters chapter in chapter 5 and 6. So we understand how that works and how it shows a specific type of information. So again, now we're going to be moving on to the more creative side when it comes to basically showing what you can do as far as designing and making it unique to your company or for presentation purposes. So again, we just looked at analyze, which allows you to change the way things are. You can name the table as well. You can your actions here is like if you need to select something, move it over. Again, if you, let's say for some reason you want to look at that that panel again, right? You would just go to you would go here, and it should be show, under show, and it says data field list, right? Once you do that, your panel should show up again. Okay, so then you can go ahead and fix your information as often as you'd like. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, so yes. So let's go ahead and go into design. Now, what you can do with here is, again, this is definitely something that is going to be a visual appeal to you. So if you want to have grand totals show up on your stuff, or if you want subtotals to show up, you can. If you don't have to. I can go ahead and click do not show subtitles and subtotals. And if I did that, as you can see, it actually got rid of that last line. So again, if I were to do there again, here, it's right here. But if I were to toggle and say, no, I don't need subtotals, it will get rid of it for you. Okay, so this is where we're going to go ahead and dive into looking at our custom styles or just designs and pivot table designs in general. So here I can have all my stuff look like this. I can have it look like this. Right, so this is the same key feature that most they're already preset things, right? So here I could do a whole purple one. I can just do just black and white, or I can just do plain. Oopsies. So let's go back to design. Or I can just have a plain one. And if I were to just click the plain one, it's just going to be just all white, no border or anything. And when I can do that, what I can do here is I'm actually allowed to be able to have bands. So for this example, I can show that I want banded rows. So if you look very, very carefully, the table actually has rows in it. It's very, very, very light. Okay. All right. Or I could choose a preset one that already has colors in it. Right. Okay. And then also, if you don't like any of the selection that you have here, you can create a customized new pivot table color or pivot table design. So I can create my own design of how I want to look at the table, or maybe my company's colors are not what's displayed, or there's nothing near it. Okay, so I can go ahead and be able to change as many details it is to create a custom design. So, I mean, in this case, I can go ahead and show you an example of how I can do that. I can, if I go into, let me see what I want. I want to change the header row. So I want the top of the table to look a certain way. And if I click format, I can choose the style of font I want to use. Maybe I want it to be bold. Maybe I want it to be automatically to be 14 in size, which I don't think you can change. And the color, I want to choose it. Yes, you can choose colors here. I want to choose, this is the border. Font, border, what kind of border do I want? I want to make sure I outline everything. And the fill, I like purple. So I want this nice dark purple against white font. Did I select the color for the font? No, I did not. So color, I want it to be white. Okay. And I click OK. And then I want to change my second rows strips to be a specific color. So if I were to click this, it should supposed to take me to my fill. Actually, hold on. That doesn't look right. I'm supposed to double click this, and it's supposed to, okay. Oh, here you go. There you go. It's supposed to populate like this, and I want to choose this nice light purple color, okay, to be my second band. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And I'm going to name this purple 1. Oopsies, purple 1. And once I create this, right, I only chose a few features. And since that's the one I want, it's going to be the very first one that I see. So if I were to click that and apply, right, so it changes everything that's in my table to meet the exact design that I want. Here I have the header to be in the dark purple with white writing. I have my secondary color in here for my rows in here. So this is definitely something you want to mess around with. Check it out, like as far as features that you can do to make changes and customize it. But in this case, it's based on how you want to present your data. It's not something that I really want to focus on. But again, those are what you could see when you're looking into the design feature in the tab for pivot tables. Okay. Lastly, we're going to be looking at formatting. Okay, so we're going to be looking at formatting, how these things work. So again, I just showed you how to format all of this to make the numbers look like numbers. So again, I'm gonna go ahead and redo that portion real quick to change it back to the way that I want to view it. So I want numbers, again, 0, I don't want that. I want 0 decimals, and I want the comma feature to be applied. So here I've already selected my my format of how I want things to look, and here it applies to the entire table. Now you also have the capabilities to use this if I want to change all of this row to okay, well, it only selected that. So if I wanted to select this whole row and change it to the dollar feature, you're able to. But I'm going to go ahead and click undo and undo, just because I don't want dollars in my to display. Okay. And then just like the customized styles, the last thing I want to show you is that you are also able to create conditional formatting when it comes to display this information. Now, if you guys remember what custom formatting is, it's where you can toggle on and off like a certain set of information. You can either fill them in, you can either have little icons that show up, you can have little data bar on it. So basically it's like a miniature graph. Again, it's not a sparkline. That's the difference between sparkline and the difference between doing a conditional formatting is it puts it in the cell that it's displaying the information in. So in this case, I believe the problem asks me to highlight this entire, this entire column right here till 30. And I'm going to go to my home page and I'm going to go to conditional formatting. So this is where I can either highlight the rows, I can put a top banner on it. So let's say if I only want to do top and bottom, right? I can do data bars. So again, having the little graph inside. I can do color schemes or I can do icons, okay? So in this case, I actually like let me see, I think they want you to do the color schemes. And I'm going to do the third one in here. So if I do that, I can see I have my data set has already applied here. And it works for pivot tables that you cannot apply the same features on here. So again, I'd be able to create icons that say, oh, did this person ship? And if they did, how much did they ship? Did they meet a certain criteria? So again, if you guys don't remember too much about, if you guys don't remember too much about conditional formatting, go ahead and review that. I believe that was chapter 4 or 3. I think it's chapter 3, for sure chapter 3. So go ahead and make sure that you go ahead and read upon on how to do that. But that's what's really cool about this is that you're able to also be able to use pivot tables and as well as introduce the conditional formatting into this data set. So again, when you need to edit a piece of information, you're able to go to Analyze and go to Show and make sure that you go to Data List or Fields List, and you're able to manipulate whatever you want to have displayed on this specific thing. So for example, I have my centers going across in the rows when I kind of want that to be displayed here. And I want month to be displayed in my row table. So I can do it like that. And then I'd be able to take out, I can also apply the year here as well. Okay, so things like that. I changed it, and now my conditional formatting still applied on my grand totals, but again, I can also highlight this and be able to get rid of that by clearing out my conditional formatting table. And right, I could do my top 10, or I can have icons on there, right? So I can manipulate the information, and that's the last part that I really want to show you is how to first create one, how to edit it in case you lose your table or you need to do a quick fix, or maybe something that you don't like. Third is how to format it, and that's pretty much it. And that's pivot tables for you. I don't expect you to understand or to learn the next few parts in the books where you're collaborating with other people and sharing your pivot tables. Those I don't care too much for, just because first off, if you've never been exposed to pivot tables, well, here you go. This is what a pivot table is. Now, reason why I decided to teach this to you is because, again, this does apply into the real world. If you've ever if you ever applied to Robert Half, which is a temporary accounting agency, they actually require you to take an Excel exam. And what that does is, or an evaluation, and just to see how much details you know when you're dealing with Excel. And that assessment is not really easy because they also cover things such as pivot tables. Because again, as an accountant, you're going to be dealing with thousands and if not millions of data every day. So being able to, take a big, huge table like that and bring it down to a really small scale just to focus on a certain aspect is definitely something that you definitely would want to know. Okay. Any questions as far as pivot tables?
There's a lot of things to learn on that. It seems that I'm looking at it as
Uh-huh.
if like this presentation is an incorporation of those different chapters. I
Exactly.
don't know.
It
Maybe
is,
with this more, yeah.
and this is the one of the last components in your book actually that this is the last component. Actually no, I'm sorry. There's still macros, which I do want to touch upon with you guys, which is the last section of the book. But for this case, yes, this is the last biggest portion as far as understanding how to use pivot tables. Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead and please review and read the book. I mean, I know this is probably the more difficult ones, but